Welcome to the SCLD podcast, where we talk about all the things you can do and find at the library.
Hello, I am Erin Dodge, the communication specialist here at the library. Today with me are librarians Dana and Corinne, and we're here to talk about teen poetry slams, and they're coming up and they're cool. And welcome, Dana and Corinne.
Thanks.
Thank you. Exciting. So for folks who don't know what a poetry slam is, how's that different than like a recital or a reading? And tell us a little bit more about them and yeah.
Okay, well, poetry slams came about in the 1980s. The poet commonly credited with coming up with a format is Mark Smith. It was in Chicago, and it was a reaction against very elaborately produced poetry recitals that took place in an academic context. Oh. So slam poetry is different in that it's less formal. It is a competition, and you are not allowed to use props or costumes.
Okay.
But there is a performance element to performing your poem. So when you go to a poetry slam, you don't usually see people being very still and reading off a piece of paper. There's going to be hand gestures and movement and a lot of performative sorts of things in addition to the poem itself.
I see. And so you've been doing this for quite a few years, not you as a performing, but you guys as judges and coordinating. So are there any poems that have stuck out over the years that are they're still there for you?
Yeah, I have a collection that I carry with me always. The editions from last year's Poetry Slam, I hope you all go and find them. We have our filmed Poetry Slams on our YouTube channel. So these three came from the Valley Slam last year. There was Ava's poem called Vixen, which was a feminist poem. And it was using an analogy of a fox running through a very uneven field, and next to her, a hunting dog on a paved road, trying to get along. It has beautiful imagery in it. Her performance was very good. So that was lovely. That same year, we also heard a comical poem from Rowan called Robot in Love, in which the robot is in love with his maker, and then discovers that perhaps it has been programmed to be such, and has to ask some big, deep questions and decide where to go from there. So that was very entertaining and also thought-provoking. And then last year we had a real treat. Poet named Owen gave us a sestina, which is a very formal kind of poem with a lot of rules about how you read it. You usually don't hear those in a slam setting, but he had produced a very beautiful one that was about that feeling of needing to get outside to ground yourself when the indoors comes a little stifling, right? Which I think we can all relate to about this time of year.
Absolutely.
So, those are three, and I'm looking forward to hearing more this year to add to my collection.
Great, and we will have a link down to our YouTube channel, and we have slams that have been recorded, and there'll be either a list of them or a playlist or something. You'll be able to watch them all from previous years, so that'd be great. All right, so how many years have we partnered with local high schools for these poetry slams, and what is our role, and who else do we partner with, and how does it all come about?
That's a great question. And actually the first part of that is a little bit difficult because while we're calling this our 7th annual slam, we've done it for more like 8 or 9 years because of course during COVID we had several kind of half slams. There was one year where we got through the both regional slams, Northern and Valley, but then everything shut down before we could get a grand slam. And then coming out of COVID, there was a year where we had all of the schools compete together rather than having regional and grand slams because we just couldn't get enough things up and moving from.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, of course. So 7-ish, 7 to 9. We went through just kind of, we'll call it the 7th annual. It's close enough. We have so many fantastic partnerships that are in play in making the slams happen. First, because schools are already teaching poetry, the library district offers to send in a poet to the classroom to workshop the poems that they're already writing with the students, which is a wonderful opportunity for teachers. We've had a great local poet, AP the Warrior, do that for the last couple of years, and teachers have just been so effusive in their praise of that opportunity. We've also started something in recent years where we have an open mic that's not competitive and no pressure for both regional slams, so that if a student goes, boy, I've never done this in front of people, that's really scary. I just want to stand in front of a microphone and try it in front of people, but I don't want there to be competition. Yeah. I don't want there to be criticism. I just want to try it and see if I can make it through. We've got those opportunities, and Lakeside Library has been so wonderfully supportive. Their local librarian, Brooke, has partnered with the Northern Slam to provide an open mic for the first time this year, which was great for students to be able to try things out. And then Valley has a
similar partnership. The Liberty Lake librarian, teen librarian Michaela, set up a great open mic opportunity for us at a boba tea shop.
Okay.
Close to the school where teens are already hanging out.
Oh, yeah.
Just perfect.
Wonderful.
And then we also partner with the schools for the slams themselves. In most instances, they provide, they have a school slam or another event similarly first to try to choose their poets. Sometimes we attend those just in support. Sure. Sometimes we attend as a judge. Sometimes we don't attend at all if they don't need us. And then the school also provides the venue for their regional slam. We have one high school that will step up and say, hey, we will allow you to book our auditorium for free, and then we will show up and provide filming of the events. We will prearrange the judges. We have scorekeepers that are there to make sure that no scores get misheard or recorded inaccurately. We have an MC that we provide to keep the event moving. And of course, we have fantastic prizes for the poets that are provided by our Foundation and Friends group. So the Deer Park Friends donate all of those funds for the Northern Slam. We're so grateful for them. They make it so easy to arrange.
Nice. And
is it the Foundation that does the prices?
Yes, the Foundation. Yes. The Valley Library doesn't have a Friends group. Yeah. The Foundation had generously provided funds for both the Valley Slam and also for the Grand Slam. And this is very crucial because we cannot use taxpayer dollars to give teens cash.
Right.
But a cash prize is a very beautiful thing to give an aspiring poet. They've been paid for their work suddenly.
Right.
So because of the generosity of the Foundation and the Friends groups, we are able to give teens that very tangible incentive that maybe encourages them to keep honing their craft. So,
and what a fun local community opportunity for those Friends organizations to be able to come out in this big, fabulous local event where people are clapping and cheering and so proud that they made happen and get to hand the money to the kids if they want to do that. That's always really cool to see as well. And then, of course, to provide those judges and other community members, we have partnerships with quite a few local organizations. I typically reach out to our local writers, our local talent, our local open mics to try to find well-known people to judge for us. We've had all kinds of great local writers volunteer their time, folks like the poet laureate, Chris Cook. Mark Anderson is really well known around town and has done things for us quite a few times. We've got all kinds of folks. The professors at Whitworth, Gonzaga, Eastern have also been really generous with connecting me, either donating time themselves and judging or doing some other role at the slams, or connecting me sometimes with folks who are doing graduate work in poetry who might be interested in working with students.
Wonderful.
It's just a great way to bring together so many different parts of the community.
Our Tuesday Memory Cafes at North Spokane Library are friendly weekly gatherings that offer a community space for those navigating memory loss and their caregivers. Every Tuesday at 11 a.m., stop into the library to connect and participate in activities, all selected to promote mental acuity, health, and wellness. Memory cafes are a comfortable way to connect with other caregivers and people experiencing memory loss. Be part of something special where understanding and support go hand in hand.
And all of Spokane and the greater Spokane area, we are awash with literary poets and talent. And it's just amazing. And I feel really lucky to be around all this talent all the time. I did want to put a plug in for the foundation. We talked about this. So if you want to donate specifically for the Poetry Slam or any of the campaigns and projects, you go to supportscld.org. You'll land on the Library Foundation of Spokane County site. There's a donation page. And if you want to put in the notes, this is for like the Poetry Slam. If you want to be specific, they will take money for specific things. And if you do that, thank you for donating and supporting these programs. You're amazing. Okay.
Absolutely. We also, I should mention that we also partner with some local business students who have in the past designed our stickers that we use as prizes. Every student who participates in their local regional slam gets a sticker pack, and often they do have local tie-ins like these ones that they get every year that say Valley Slam and Northern Slam.
Nice.
It's a great thing that they can publicly display to say both I was brave and I did this, and also it's a local thing that nobody else has.
Right. And then also the folks that make it get that kind of credit, they've done some work and they did this thing. And so it's like a win-win for everybody involved.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Wonderful. And can you talk about poetry slams and sort of how they can benefit people, how they can enhance lives, communities, outlooks, and both for the teens and those attending? And talking about attending, so I'm just going to step onto this question. There's some specific things people need to know when they attend a poetry slam. So after we talk about the importance, let's talk about that too.
Okay, sounds good. So why should you go to a poetry slam? One of our judges last year posted on their Facebook page after judging, I was feeling kind of down about the world, but I went to this teen poetry slam and they kind of know what's up. So I feel better about the future of the world. Teens will always surprise you. The beautiful thing about attending a poetry slam is you get to hear what teenagers in our community are thinking about, and they are our future. And there's just a chance that you'll walk away feeling a little more hopeful, knowing about the things that they take seriously enough to get up on a stage and talk about them. Yeah. For the teens themselves, this is such a great growth opportunity. We're connecting them to a local poet to do some workshopping that can be very tailored to them. So they get that extra mentoring, which is very important. They're getting up there and getting exposure to the poetry community in Spokane because our panel of judges are the people who are publishing and writing here, and they can stand out there. In the past, participation in the poetry slam even landed a kid a scholarship or helped them. Martin, perhaps, received a scholarship from Spokane Scholars, and he included the poetry participation in his application. So it can have some tangible benefits there. Right. Of course, as we spoke about, the teens who win take away cash prizes and have been paid for making poetry, which would just buoy them up, I'm very sure. So yeah, it's a wonderful thing for our community. It's a wonderful thing for our teenagers, and I'm very proud of putting this out there. So it's a great thing.
Wonderful. And we have, of course, go ahead. Privilege of seeing poets from the beginning of their process to the end and watching their increase in confidence, as well as how smooth and polished their poem is. What by the time they reach the Grand Slam is just so fantastic to see every year. There's so much student growth, even with very experienced and talented poets. Practicing and performing over and over again really does make a difference.
Well, you guys talked about the performance, but they're not just reading from these paper, hiding behind it. There's usually it's memorized, or at least mostly memorized, and there's a lot of vocal inflection and performance elements.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think, like you were saying, for a scholarship or even like a job application, that if you can explain the process that you just talked about, I started writing a poem and then I practiced and then I got up in front of 100 people and performed, and then that's really impressive too, for certain job skills or certain life skills, to just be able to do that, to memorize, to get on stage, to perform it. It's
that self-awareness of what your body is doing as well, and what it looks like as opposed to what you think it looks like. Those sorts of things are definitely translatable to public speaking, giving presentations on the job.
Mhm.
And it's fantastic to see our students develop those kinds of skills and really thrive.
Yeah, and more
Nice.
in any kind of workplace, I think, as I sit here, a librarian on a podcast, understanding how your body works and performing is a skill that's needed in more and more jobs now. That's
Sure.
where it wasn't before, as social media and visual media becomes more and more important.
Right. In-person customer service or video customer service or any kind of in-person. Yeah. All of this is important. The way you present yourself and the way your body's moving and all of that stuff.
Absolutely. And then as audience members, we usually give them a heads up about how they support their poets.
Yeah, that was part 2. So
Yes.
thank you for remembering.
Absolutely. So poetry audience etiquette, if a poet is getting very emotional about their poem or they're really struggling to finish a way that the audience can show support without distracting them, is to just rub their hands together, which says like, hey, we're holding you up, we're supporting you,
Nice.
we're feeling the emotion of this poem, keep going, we know you can do it. And then if you like a poem, you don't want to give thunderous applause where we can't really hear the poet and can't understand them or distract them.
Right.
So we have people snap their
Nice.
fingers, just like in the movies, exactly. And our audiences have been fantastic, just really unbelievably warm and supportive, and that's so great to see the students with the I think, as Dana said once, the regional slams are all about school pride and pride in having stood up there and done this poetry slam. And then the grand slams are more about the writing and the craft. So in both instances, you see very appreciative audiences
Nice.
who are there to support their high school, their community, their kids that they know, and then also who are there to really enjoy great writing. I think people are often surprised because they remember kind of the worst poem you ever wrote in high school.
Oh, yeah.
And then they see our students perform and go, oh my gosh, that was just incredible.
Miles and miles away.
Miles away.
Oh my.
Yes.
Yeah, so good.
We should
The worst 20 poems I ever wrote.
we should also mention that there is a place for applause at the end.
Okay.
You should
Yes.
slap the poet on and off the stage. And there's also a role for boos, but they don't go to the poet.
Okay.
If a judge assigns a score that you feel was inappropriate for the quality of the poem, then there should
the
be
judges.
booing.
Yes.
The judges
Time
should know
honored
how you
tradition,
feel.
heckle the judges.
Nice.
Which can really buoy up a poet as well.
Nice. Perfect. That sounds wonderful.
Do you have a green thumb? Are you new to gardening? No matter your skill level, every season is gardening season at the library. We have an extensive collection of gardening books and online resources that can plant the seeds for new ideas and help you cultivate your indoor and outdoor projects. We also have seed libraries. Our Take and Give seed libraries are currently accepting donations of vegetable, herb, and flower seeds. Bring your heirloom seeds into a library to share with other gardeners for spring planting. Learn more today at scld.org.
All right. Let's see. What types of resources at the library can we offer to someone who's interested in poetry slams, or just poetry, or just performance, or just all of the above?
We have some great resources that are available. In fact, I've got a whole list of them that are regular judges recommended to teachers this year. We had an interview with them where they talked about what judging is like and all of the fantastic resources that are available if you want to learn more. So we've got some great books that just were on the shelf at the library right now. One from the adult section is The Room is on Fire, which is the history of youth spoken word poetry.
Nice.
We also have from the adult section, Spoken Word, A Cultural History, which is a really fantastic thing to check out if you're interested in slam poetry in general. The Triggering Town and Bird by Bird are other books about writing that are in the adult section that are really fantastic. And then in the teen section, My Name is Jason, Mine Too is a fantastic book for teens. It's short and sweet and filled with all kinds of a great poetry collaboration. We've also got Ain't Burned All the Bright, which is a great example of how you can combine poetry and art.
Nice.
And Ink Knows No Borders is a collection of poetry for teens, I believe from the immigrant and refugee community.
Okay.
And You Don't Have to Be Everything is a book of teen poetry about being female out there in the world. So those are fantastic resources if students want to attend a poetry slam as a participant. We've got the 3-minute mic that is occasionally at Auntie's, arranged by Chris Cook, just kind of periodically. It'll be on their website. And then we also have a poetry slam at Nito Burrito, and both of those are all ages. We've got more poetry slams than that in town, but most of them are 21 and over.
And these ones
you can go to if you're in high school.
And the Nito Burrito one is Broken Mic.
Correct.
Okay.
That's called Broken Mic.
And we'll get those links down in the description below so that it's easy for people to go find those.
Absolutely. And then, of course, in addition to going to your local library and asking the reference librarian on duty about books that are on the shelf about poetry, we also have a lot of online resources that are really fantastic. So there's a festival called Brave New Voices that's online where you can see a lot of performances. Rupi Kaur, RUPI space KUR on YouTube has some fantastic performances. Propaganda is a great site for kind of rhythm. Voices in Power and Women of the World are both on YouTube. Those are great resources for aspiring poets. Some of them offer a limited amount of opportunity to participate online. Others are just pre-recorded performances or tips on how to do a particular thing when you're on stage.
Well, great. I'm excited. Hopefully you at home listening and watching will take advantage and go and watch some poets perform. And we have some dates. You'll find them in Engage, or we can just tell you right now.
Or both.
Or both. The Northern Slam will be at Riverside High School. That's in Chattaroy, Monday, March 18th at 6:30. And then the Valley will be Thursday, March 21st at 6:30. That's at University High School. And then we do have a Grand Slam planned in April. And I think we're still working on
this close to having a date.
It's at the Gathering House. So down on Garland. And so we're going to have a date and a time for you. Just keep checking online. We'll get that up.
And that will be in April.
And that one is in April. All right. Amazing. This is great. Thank you so much for all the work you do in the community and getting all these folks together and helping make this happen. This is fabulous.
Yeah.
So thank you, Bill. And thank you for listening and watching today. We'll see you next time.